what conflict are we trying to solve? What worked? What tools do we have to solve this? And sometimes they need to hear, I hear you, and I'm going to take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where I'm at. I want them to be self-sufficient, and I want my clients to also be empowered. I don't want to hold any information over anybody. My job is to share what I know. And sometimes they agree with me and sometimes they don't, but it is my job to support them in their decisions. Where I think 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I'm like, this is what we're doing.
Okay.
This is what we're doing.
Welcome to Well Coached, a podcast about how people, sales, profit, and self can transform your business. I'm your host, Chris Weinberg, and I have helped hundreds of entrepreneurs get into their highest productivity zone and become corporate enough to succeed. Let's get into today's episode. Hey team, welcome back to the Well Coached podcast, where we dive into people, sales, profit, and self, and we get to talk to some amazing entrepreneurs along their journey. And we've got a banger for you today. Jennie Smythe is the founder of Girlilla. She's an author. She's got more awards than we can count, and she is a person that is full of grit, determination, has bootstrapped herself up from the beginning, and has built an amazing business. And we're going to learn some stuff today. Jennie is the founder and CEO of Girlilla Marketing, a digital strategy firm that represents some of the most iconic names out there: Willie Nelson, Brooke Shields, Dead & Company. That's just a drop in the bucket of who she has earned the trust with over the course of time. She is a trailblazer in digital marketing. She's a leader in the national business community. She is the current president of the CMA board and recent author of a memoir, Becoming Girlilla: My Journey to Unleashing Good in Real Life, Online, and in Others. How refreshing is that? So in this episode, we're going to explore how Jennie built Girlilla from the ground up, what she's learned navigating fast-moving worlds of music, tech, and media, and how resilience and authenticity have shaped her leadership journey. We'll do it in our typical lanes of people, sales, profit, and self. Jennie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited about this. You guys are going to learn a lot here, so I'm going to try to do as little talking as possible and tee her up. Let's start in our people lane, if that's cool. So let's start at the very beginning. What led you to launch Girlilla Marketing, and what was the vision you had for the company all the way back in 2008?
It was a pretty simple vision, but at the time, just because of the timing of the climate, it was there wasn't a lot of people doing what I set out to do. So the problem that I was trying to solve is that you had the onslaught of social media.
Yeah.
You had businesses that needed particular things promoted or highlighted, and then you had artists that were rather confused about how to do that and keep their authenticity intact. And I often found myself, when I worked at other companies that I had good jobs at, being the person that was saying, okay, so what you're saying is that you need this, and what they're saying is that they want to do that, but they don't want to do it at the cost of this, or they're confused about this. And so I just realized that I had a business, and the business was to kind of be in the middle.
Okay.
And so right place, right time, but also, there was a need. There was definitely a need.
What did you go through to say the word go? Because you've got some big time corporate experience with some great companies.
Yeah.
And you decided to leap.
Yeah.
How did you get there?
I was a reluctant corporate employee.
Okay.
So I definitely had a vision for myself that was marketing based in entertainment, and specifically music in the beginning. I knew 100% that's what I wanted to do.
Okay.
I had great opportunities that came my way, and then I kept getting hired because people would say oh, she really thinks differently, we should hire her. And then, that's a double-edged sword. Mm-hmm. It seems like a really good idea to be the person that disrupts things. it seems like a good idea to hire the person that disrupts things too.
Until you're disrupting the person that hired you.
Correct. And so I find myself like getting to a point in every job where I was either irritated or I was irritating,
Right.
And not to say that I still wasn't doing a good job or I wasn't working for great companies. It was just that I don't necessarily fit one position day to day, depending on what I want to do or what I think is the future. And so it truly, 17 years later in Girlilla, I do something different every single day. So it was selfish for me. Like I changed so much. The clients change, their initiatives change, their team members change. We evolve inside our own building. And so it kind of rolls with me. But it was hard because I grew up with a traditional, sort of mindset that you go to school, you get a job, you work at that company. So the idea of being the person in the family that says no to all of that was a big challenge too.
So you were the generation break then of getting out there and starting on your own.
I mean, when my dad was an oil guy, he worked in the same place for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
My mom, was a teacher and then ended up working for the government. And so I just had a really good test case of looking at two people who were doing all the right things and checking all the boxes and maybe still not really happy.
Yeah. I bet they were surprised when you said, here's what I'm going to go do.
I think about that a lot because at 18, I said, I'm not going back to school and I'm moving to Hollywood.
Wow.
And I have an almost 13-year-old daughter. And I think if she said that to me, I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
No. Maybe I would say yes, but then I would also be like, well, I'm going with you.
I'm coming with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I tell my kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Move, I'm coming with you. You've built a team that really does well in fast changing space. What do you, now that, back to that evolution, what do you look for in building a team? What do you look for in people? What makes a good team member at Girlilla?
Chemistry.
Okay.
Like you can't imagine, I mean you can, how much somebody coming into, like, let me set the scene for you, because we have 12 people and we've been bigger than that and we've been smaller than that. We've had offices in other cities and we've peeled back and have been just Nashville based. I am so lucky when I tell you that I have people that have been there almost the entire time. And then coming up on 10 years, coming up on 7 years, coming up on 5 years. So we haven't had a lot of changeover. So now what I look for is the person that comes in that doesn't disrupt that chemistry. That person has to complement that chemistry. And that is a very difficult place to be.
How do you measure that? How do you figure that out on the front side? Because some of that's got to be hope and guess.
You can't. I mean, any
reasonable deduction. Maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, any firing manager knows that in the beginning you're taking somebody's word that they have the skills that they say they have, and that they're showcasing the personality that they really are. Yeah. And so it's a real-time social experiment for about I really say 6 months to a year. You don't really know. And so if you hire the wrong person, it's a year.
Right.
If you hire the right person, it's limitless, right? But it's a challenge. So it's the old saying, but it's one that I really didn't pay attention to until about 12 years in, and that was slow to hire, fast to fire.
Yeah. It's a slogan for a reason, right?
Yep. But we've had issues in the past because I have really liked people and thought I'll find something for them to work with or work on. Or I have hired somebody that is so truly talented, but they aren't varied enough to make it in our environment. And so it's a very delicate balance. And I just ask a lot of questions. I have found that over the years, hiring somebody on the freelance side and seeing how they work is a much better way to go about it.
It's audition for both sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I do that to clients sometimes too.
Yeah. How have your leadership chops changed or developed from startup to now industry leader? Like how have your leadership skills evolved over time?
I try to think about what other people would say about my leadership skills when I get questions like that. And I think at least my core team would say that I've softened a bit.
Okay.
But I think the first, years or even decade, I was working for the company. I was getting clients. I was building all the financial stuff. I was, doing all the nuts and bolts of what a CEO does. And I'm working for the clients. Now I would say I work for my staff.
That's awesome.
I mean, at the end of the day, I trusted them with doing their best work. And so I'm really there to support them.
When you say you softened, guys out there and gals listening, we spend a lot of time on disc profile. Try to start thinking about what do you think Jennie is, right? And do you think she leads with a D, I, S, or C? When you say that over time, maybe you soften, were there moments that made that happen? Was it because you started trusting people under you? Was it because you started having children? What were moments that maybe softened the edge a little bit?
I think all of those things.
Okay.
I mean, in a way, I've softened, and then in a way, there's other ththings that I'm absolutely intolerant of, right?
Okay.
But they're black and white now. Whereas when you're building a business, there's so many variables
all
about
the colors.
what are, if I fire this client or I fire this employee, what's the ricochet effect all the way down? And now I'm just like, well, I'm not dependent on any one employee. I'm not dependent on any one client. I am very bonded to the ones that I have currly. And,
right.
And I, don't like to think about, change, but it is my job to plan for it.
Right.
But I feel like I have tried my best to pass on the things that I've learned. So what used to upset me or what used to throw me off, now I've been through it so many times that it really doesn't upset me or throw me off as much. And so I'm able to be like, hold on. So 5 years ago, we went through this and this is what happened and this is what I did. And if I could do it again, maybe this is how I would approach it. Or, what conflict are we trying to solve? What worked? What tools do we have to solve this? And sometimes they need to hear, I hear you, and I'm going to take care of it.
Mm-hmm. And
that's kind of where I'm at. I want them to be self-sufficient, and I want my clients to also be empowered. I don't want to hold any information over anybody. My job is to share what I know. And sometimes they agree with me and sometimes they don't, but it is my job to support them in their decisions. Where I think 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I'm like, this is what we're doing.
Okay.
This is what we're doing.
Okay. You've got enough experience now. You've got enough reps in to be able to provide experience share and perspective share.
Yeah.
And that's kind of nirvana for a CEO when you can get in that place with especially with the people working on you. If you can get into a mode where that's your primary mission is you're providing experience, perspective, and clearing the runway. Yeah. That's a good place to be.
I think so.
Only happens if your team has a high degree of competence, and they must, or you wouldn't be in that place.
That's true. And I trust them. Again, right. I trust them to make the right decision to a point, and they most of them really understand when to come to me with something that they're conflicted with, and to know that if you come to me in the beginning stages of those conflicts, then I think we can work it out a little bit easier. You don't have to hide from me. If you make a mistake, it happens.
It's not fatal. Right.
I can deal with anything as long as I know about it.
No surprises.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about that a lot, about when your relationship's trying to work toward no surprises, right? Let's just get it out there. Run. If there's conflict, just run toward it. Just get it over with.
And you know how it is. You in the beginning, you don't want to have those uncomfortable conversations. You don't want to fire people. You don't want to, do any of that. And then in the end, even though it makes me an easy target, because I do put myself out there. The idea that somebody doesn't know how I feel about a situation or what I would do, it's not, I mean, I'm never going to be like, well, I'm never going to say like, I told you, because I don't want to hear that either, because that's a waste of energy. But if we've had the conversation and you choose not to do what I say, then I'm going to be prepared, but I'm not going to judge you for it. Right. I feel like we so oftentimes want to be right, and that's not necessarily what's good. So I try to not worry about being right.
You had, you mentioned in the book, you had a big moment with your late father that influenced the people you surround yourself with personally and professionally. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah. My dad was a firecracker. I mean, he was, I didn't even call him, I called him by his first name, Pete, because he was just, just out there. And we were estranged for a lot of years because he was an interesting guy to have as your father. But from a human perspective, as an adult, we were like really becoming friends. But he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and he had a rapid death process. Okay. And so I found myself spending quite a bit of time with him, but it was in like super chaotic situations, as anybody who's dealt with an ailing parent understands. So hospital rooms, insurance, conference calls, these things. And late stage, we were in a hospital room in Long Beach, California, outside of Los Angeles. And he kind of popped up out of this, like, had a moment of lucidity. And he was like, what would you do if your life was half over? And I just kind of looked at him like, what? Like, oh my God, we don't talk about, we talk about the weather, we talk about the market, we talk about the Denver Broncos. We're not really like,
we're not going that deep.
We're not having deep conversations.
Okay.
And I wanted so desperately to dismiss it. Like, I wanted to tell him to be quiet. I wanted to be like, that's silly, lay down. Like, that's the drugs talking. That's, whatever. But something stopped me. Because I had been having so many thoughts about things that I wanted to do. But the climate, like, what entrepreneurs do and what human beings do is you're like, okay, well, if I can get to this age, or if I can have this much money, or if the condition is completely perfect to make a decision, to get married or have kids or start a business or whatever. And in that moment, what he was saying to me was, what are you doing with your life?
Right.
And I don't think he even stayed awake for me to answer it. And I don't recall verbally telling him what I wanted to do. But in that moment, I had two very clear messages come through to me. And they were so simple. And it was, you want to start your own business and you want to travel more. Like, that was it. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do that.
Wow.
And it was like, it didn't matter. It didn't matter what the conditions were. It's like, well, what's the alternative? The alternative is knowing that you're going to potentially be in a hospital bed double time here and questioning what you're doing. So that was such a gift.
What a gift of clarity.
I mean, from a guy that probably didn't give me one piece of good advice, being a father my whole life, to come in the end and hit a home run like that was amazing. And I will always be so grateful for that moment. It felt very divine. It felt very powerful, but it was so...
How full circle, man.
And so simple.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll do that. When all this is over, I'll do that. And that's what I did.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah. Thanks, Pete.
I call my mother by her first name, and I have since I was a baby. And I told you before we started, she and I grew up. She had me young, and we grew up. My dad died young. And so we had more of that kind of relationship. That's right. And we were a much stronger relationship as adults than we were we were both in survival mode.
Right.
Right. We were just surviving back then. And That's interesting. I really like that story.
And it's like when you really, 20 years, 30 years later, you look back on something like that, you think, man, he really was. He did his job.
Yeah.
He did his job. He set me on the path, and he would love the credit. He would love it. So I try, I was like, of course.
Well,
like,
hopefully
of course
he's listening to us right now.
Yeah, I was like, the irony of all ironies. I was like, I opened my book talking about my dad. He's like, that's right. That's right. One for old Pete.
Okay, Pete.
Mm-hmm.
Way to go.
Yep.
Hey team, are you looking to elevate your golf game year-round? Nashville City Golf, located within the Nashville City Club at 200 2nd Avenue South, offers a premier indoor golfing experience right in the heart of downtown. With over 350 real-world courses available on state-of-the-art TrackMan.io simulators, you can challenge yourself on some of the world's most renowned fairways without leaving the city. Whether you're a seasoned golfer or just starting out, our facility caters to all skill levels. Features of the club include TrackMan.io performance tracking, an adjustable swing stage, indoor putting, and great upscale lounge and food and beverage, as well as PGA instruction right on site. Nashville City Golf isn't just about swinging a club, it's about experiencing a revolution in golf practice and entertainment. Our cutting-edge features elevate your game and create an unforgettable experience. We offer flexible membership options to suit your needs, as well as booking for individual sessions. Ready to tee off? Visit NashvilleCityGolf.com to learn more about memberships, book a session, or schedule a lesson with one of our PGA instructors. Elevate your game at Nashville City Golf, where the best of golf meets the best of Nashville. We'll change gears a little bit. You've worked with global talent, rising stars alike. Is there a commonality? What do your best client relationships have in common?
Collaboration.
Okay.
I mean, 100%. Somebody caring about what they do and attempting to try new things.
Isn't it funny that you have to say that out loud? Like, there's so many that don't participate in their own success, aren't there?
Yeah. Or worse, they actually sabotage themselves. Yeah. And it takes a different kind of person to be able to speak to a creative. It just does. And it's easy to make exceptions for people's processes when they are insanely collaborative and they try their best.
Okay.
But we have to kind of put together a roadmap to get to the heart of what somebody is saying and how we deliver on that, to not only satisfy the creative side, but to make sure that we're tracking on the analytical side, the places that other people deem successful. So once again, I sort of found myself in the middle of those conversations. It used to be like, you used to protect, they would say, protect, don't talk about sales. Don't talk about followers. Don't talk about those things. Like, so-and-so can't handle that kind of pressure. And now it's like, well, it's all out there. It's public information. Mm-hmm. And so my job is to really help decipher of all of the information that's out there, what should you pay attention to? And I'm not always successful because people Google themselves, they see it, they know, they feel it, when there's negativity or something doesn't perform as well as they thought. And, even me writing my own book, having some empathy for that situation has probably made me a better leader in the last year, because I've had to put myself out there in a way that I never have before.
Yeah.
But it is an insane amount of block and tackling for sure.
Yeah, what an interesting thing. And to your point, I see so many that either sabotage or just lazy with the process of mm-hmm. having a talent like you and your team around. And so I think some of them don't, I don't know if appreciate's the right word, or recognize or buy in. I don't know, but
I mean, I'm trepidatious to work with somebody in the beginning.
How fast can you see it? How fast do you know if it's going to work or not?
Pretty fast. Sometimes I know it before we even start working together. There's can you fill out, this survey? Can you have the conversation? The red flags are very obvious for me now. I don't get upset when people go through periods where they're not inspired, because that's a normal part of the job.
Yeah.
So my job is to make sure that we continuously, keep them inspired best we can, or have contingency plans that we know we've got certain things in the can to use
to cover for those time periods.
Sure. And like everybody needs a break.
Yeah. Nobody can be 100% productive 100% of the time.
Right. Including us.
Right.
Right. Not every idea I have is great. Most of them aren't.
Hey, we talk about it around here. You just got to be right like 51% of the time.
Yeah. And also then what do you do with that when you have a bad failure? And I even hesitate to say bad. Like when you have a failure, what do you do the next day?
Mm-hmm.
How do you show up? Like that's the leader in me.
Okay.
Like we've talked about employees and all of that.
Yeah.
I say something in the book where I say being in my position is like falling in love every single day, knowing that you might get your heart broken.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
But tomorrow when I show up at that office, I am going to be able to fall in love again. So it is risky business.
Right.
It is risky. But I can't imagine doing anything else. And if you have a bad idea, sometimes it's just bad timing.
Yeah.
Just
stars have to align on more than one thing. And if you had a bad idea, at least you had an idea.
Uh-huh.
And at least you had the chutzpah to go do something with it.
Correct. And then show up tomorrow with 5 more.
Wow. In the book, you write about the importance of listening and storytelling. How do those skills show up in your client strategy?
I think it's paramount. I think it's the core of what we're trying to do. Like if you aren't asking yourself, what do you want people to do or feel about what we're putting out in the plant on the planet, what are we doing it for? There's certain things you have to do. You're putting out an album, you're putting out a book, you're putting out a movie, a TV show, you're a nonprofit. There's certain nuts and bolts of business that you have to take care of. Like, we can't get away from being promotional. Like we just can't. It's marketing. I mean, It's always been marketing. But beyond that, like, what do you care about? And how do you work back from that? Like instead of just saying, I want people to stream my album, it's really coming down to say, well, what song, like if somebody streams this song, what do you envision them feeling when they hear it for the first time? And have you thought about how people listen to the album? Do you think that there's going to be people that come in the door that are going to listen to the album all the way through? Do you think somebody might hit through one song? Where would you like them to go after that? Like what visual representation of your art do you want to showcase to a potential fan who's never heard of you before? All of these questions. Yeah.
People are lucky to have you beside them. Because they're not even thinking about those questions.
I'm lucky to be in those conversations. Like, think about the history of, especially music marketing.
Mm-hmm.
We used to be, maybe you're lucky if you get 3 or 4 music videos. Really lucky. You'd have to be very, very A-list to have, because they were very expensive at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You get a black and white photo, or a color headshot every year or 2. You get 1 written bio. Now it's like, I remember arguing with people if they were going to get their hair cut. We're like, nobody's going to recognize you. Now it's like, great, let's put it on Instagram. Let's do it.
Right.
Like, just the idea that you can change and evolve as an artist is such a better story than, all of the music business fodder that happens online from, the big bad record companies and, the streaming royalties and all of that. All important conversations to have, but they're not marketing conversations.
Yeah. The listener doesn't care about that stuff.
No.
Let's talk business a little bit. What you mentioned, you've had moments of abundance and some moments of scarcity. What were some of the leanest moments in building Girlilla, and how did you get through them?
So I had a typical depression baby grandma,
Okay.
Ruthie, who used to always say, if you don't have the money to buy the TV, don't buy the TV.
Right.
So we just never took anybody's money. So we built slow, and we didn't ever go into debt. And the freedom that comes from that, if you can make it through, is it's not even describable. Like, to not be beholden to anyone is
very freeing.
It's the American dream.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have debt. We have, reasonable expenses. We keep our retainers reasonable for our clients. We don't have everybody's kind of in the same range.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's equal playing ground. So, and I've made the mistakes where I've had maybe somebody that was on the roster that was 2, 3, 4 times, the amount of income that comes in. And so as a boss, you then tend to put that many more resources on it. So it's like, how do you, it doesn't really pan out in my business because we're an asset-less business. My assets are my people. Right. So they have to deliver, and they should be compensated for it. The scariest moments that we ever had, because it's very important to me, we pay for everybody's health insurance. And there are certain other benefits to being a small company that I can do that, really corporate America should be also doing, and it should be normalized, but it's not. But it's so expensive to do that every year. It's like even the last few years have been harder than some of the previous 10 years because it's 17% increase. It's like, and our cost of living, hovered around 3%.
Yeah.
So it's like, what?
Right.
Like you get penalized for being a small business doing the right thing because you don't get to tap into any of the write-offs that some of these big corporations have, even though you are trying to be a better kind of business.
Yeah.
And I, you go through years where you have more clients than not, and then you have more employees to service those clients. So it took me a minute to get it to the point,
balance.
Yeah, where I was like, all right, we have the right amount of people, we have the right amount of clients, and then if we want to, give or take a little rocking of the boat is far less intrusive to our overall vibe than, it would be if it was like just employees, or like, I've never raised capital. I've never said like, okay, I want to hire 10 people at once. I just won't do it.
Yeah. Much
to the dismay of a lot of people who have been involved with us financially,
oh, sure. Yeah.
But I just want it to be, I just want peace.
Yeah. And bigger is not always better.
No.
Right.
And I don't really have any desire to I'll take a couple more, here and there.
I'm the same. I know exactly what my client bandwidth is. Now I'm in it 25 years, same way you've got the reps in. So I know who I am. I'm very similar. I don't carry any debt. I could scale it pretty easily if I wanted to. Back in my old day, there was a time when I had 17 of me.
Yeah. It's too much.
This is better. I know my lane. I know where my happiness is, and I'm not beholden to anyone other than the people I get to work with and the people that work for me.
Yeah.
That were with me.
Well, when people say like, oh, how is it being your own boss? I'm like, no, I have 25.
That's right.
And I'm good with it.
Yeah.
I'm good with it. But yeah, I mean, I see people kind of make the mistakes, and it's cringy for me, because it's like you see them grow, or they're really concerned about like their office furniture, or, like they have good presentation, but at the end it's all dust.
Yeah. Yeah. Big hat, no cattle.
That's right. That's right.
You guys, there was a period where you took back over, you regained ownership of the company. And what did that journey teach you about valuing yourself and the company and things you stood for and all that? Walk us through that time period.
It was a really painful time period. I mean,
what led to it? How to get it back? Like enlighten us.
I mean, it was a 10-year process.
Wow.
And it was, it might have been 8.5. But by the time you recover from something like that. But the long story short is one of my clients who I loved working with a lot did what smart clients do. And they said, hey, we can help you. You can help us. We can do this. We can build our businesses together. We can help you with some of the back office stuff that was, monotonous and hard when I was still running point on the actual marketing of all of our projects. And I thought I needed that. I thought that, I did. I mean, I did need help because I was trying to navigate a whole bunch of worlds that I had never tried to navigate all at the same time. And I think it was really good for about 5 years. And then there were a couple of gigantic red flags. And a couple of them I ignored because of my respect of these human beings who I'd grown to love. And I wanted to not rock the boat. I wanted their business to not be affected by mine. And, it was like at the end, it wasn't good enough to stay. And it wasn't like, it just was, it felt like a divorce. It was just, it wasn't working for either party, but it took their company sort of falling apart and my company being an asset entangled in that. And so it was painful. It was a painful extraction after all those years to one day, I'll just say it was a Tuesday, I was in a partnership with somebody for the better part of a decade, talking to them every single day of my life, to done.
Right.
And so there was a grieving process. And there was also for my employees, at some point I was like, hey, I'm leaving. So I'm either going to get the name back and we're going to figure this out, whether it's financially, all of those things, or I'm just going to start my own, another company, which I didn't want to do because I felt like Girlilla was me.
Yeah.
But at the end, every single client was going to go with me and every single employee was going to go with me. And that worked out. But I had such painful human feelings towards, at least a few of the people that were involved in that. And I'm happy to say that after all these years, a few of us never stopped working together. So even though we had, amazingly complicated situation, the mutual respect from the professional side was there. And now I count that as one of the best experiences I've had because I learned so much from it.
What do you think the primary lessons are there? Is it choose your partners carefully? Is it like what did you most get out of that?
It's
because you said it went great for a while, right?
It's not unlike a marriage.
Yeah, that's ups and downs, and do we grow togetger or grow apart?
That's
all
it.
That stuff.
And then you feel sort of obligated.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's more complicated.
I think business partnerships are far more complicated than marriage.
And for me, there were multiple partners on their side.
Again.
And so it was, I'm being a kid of divorce.
Yeah.
I always say, I'm like, for a long time, I just did what I did with my own parents. Like whoever I thought I was going to get the answer that I needed, that's the parent that I went to.
Yeah.
And then no matter what I did, even if I was doing the most right thing on the planet Earth, I was going to make somebody unhappy that day. Mm-hmm. And then I just stopped caring.
Okay.
I was like, all right, cool. Well, you can be as unhappy as you want. I've got 12 people on this side that have now gone from being single in their 20s to being new moms, homeowners, heads of households. Like the pressure of that was something that I can't even begin to say. Right. And I remember a late night conversation with my key employees at the time where I said, I don't know what's going to happen. And they had never heard me say that before. right?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what's going to happen in the next 48 hours. Here's what I know. Your pay is not going to change and your health insurance is going to be fine.
Great.
So if you can roll with me, just know that those two things are accounted for and the rest we'll figure out. And I think that was one of the moments where I realized like they were in it to ride.
Okay.
So, and thank God I had that, because foreshadowing years later, I get diagnosed with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Like those are the people that end up running my business while I'm trying to get better.
What a learning curve.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that. You've overcome some really big personal challenges, including the breast cancer. How has going through that shaped your leadership journey? And tag it on to, you said you've got these long-term team members who started in their early 20s and now they're mothers and heads of household. Has that shaped you at all?
Yeah. I mean, the pressure is a lot more. I mean, because you're like, well, especially now, they've given me so much of their lives that now, as a leader, as a boss, somebody who's 48 years old, now I'm starting to think like, hey, how am I going to plan for them when I'm not going to be here? And I don't mean that in a, like, I'm going to be dead. I mean, like, what's my business plan? Like, how does the business sustain for them so that they are able to carry on maybe when I go on to do something else, or if, I choose to step down or whatever that is. But that was never, I mean, that's only
You're
recently.
not thinking about that early on, right?
No, also, like, I don't even think about it now that much because I still really love what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm highly competitive, so like I still got things I want to put up on the ticker.
Right.
But being sick allowed me to, I hate to give cancer any credit because it's just like, I'm never going to be one of those people. It's like, I'm so grateful. I'm not grateful at all.
Right.
But I will say that it allowed me to at least think about, as horrible as it is, like, what if? Right. What is? And I think every business owner should do that. Like, especially when you have dependence on the success of the business. Like, at this point in their life, they could go work anywhere they wanted. Mm-hmm. They could make more money. They could, do something that's less stressful, like all the things, and they're not. And so what if, like, what plans am I putting in place to take care of them the way that they've taken care of the business and me? And so it's just coming a little full circle. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, and the idea, all of us generationally, like, none of us have what our parents had, or grandparents, I would say at this point, where we watch somebody have a pension their whole life and they were like, hey, I'm going to have, at this age, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to move to Boca, or like whatever your plans are. Nobody has that anymore. So the idea to just say like, okay, what does success look like? Success looks like being able to give the people that work with me the tools to make sure that they have the plan in place for them.
That's awesome. If your daughters or a young entrepreneur ask you, and I'm sure they probably do, what does it take to build something that lasts? Because you've gone through it. You've gone through the ringer of growing something, getting punched in the teeth a little bit, professionally and health-wise, and here you are. Here you are writing books and flexing like a big old eagle.
I feel like there's such a, there's Gen Z gets just this, and the millennials just get like bad raps,
right? Oh man, they do. Some of it's deserved.
Oh, I mean, just like saying like, I'm Gen X. You couldn't find anybody who's more Gen X than me. And I'm the only one. Of course, that's how Gen X is at. Being in the building, I'm the only one. That's right. And I'm like, of course. And tough as nails, get up, last person out, first person in, those things. Well, finding out that's not exactly, the badge of success that we thought it was going to be, but also then seeing the comparison of the absolute horror show that is some of the laziest workers I've ever seen in my life. And then having the intuitiveness, the human intuitiveness that's coming up to realize like, oh, yeah, okay, certain things that, you know, I never dealt with in the last 20 years of like dealing with people that might be on the spectrum. Now understanding that, you know, like having people that have different political views, different, all the different views. But how do you galvanize them to move in the same direction? Like, it's not that hard. It's not. Like in the idea that people are just saying the whole generation is this or that. Like, I have a tiny little business, but we have everything represented. And I'm telling you, when we sit at the table together and decide what we're going to do, having those perspectives makes us future proof. And yes, there are some, you know, just things that are like head scratchers for me as being a person that grew up in the environment was like, don't let anybody see you sweat, you know, like, don't cry. Please don't cry, you know, like, don't take no for an answer, like all of those things. But the one thing that I do absolutely Gen X rebel against is the work-life balance.
Where did that even come from?
That is the most ridiculous saying in the world. Like, you are an American. You are a capitalist. You are in a free economy, and you don't have to want it. You can find whatever 9 to 5 or less. You want to sit in your house by yourself and work remotely. Cool.
So be it.
That's fine. But you don't get to reap what those of us who went out and decided that we were going to go balls to the wall. With that being said, I don't know how to be an entrepreneur and start a business without putting 100% of yourself into it. And so it's not forever, but it is. And so when somebody that's young says to me, I want to do X, Y, and Z, my first inclination is always absolutely. How are you going to do it? And as soon as somebody starts talking to me about involved plans that they have written ad nauseum, I'm just already shaking my head, because you have not thought about what you're actually you have an idea. You don't have a plan. A plan is what action are you taking and when are you going to start doing that? So if somebody says to me, putting in my notice here, this is what I'm doing. This is, you know, I've already come up with the P&L, or I have 6 months of this, or this person's bankrolling it, or, you know, whatever it is. Then I'm like a little bit more like, okay, that sounds good. Have you thought about this? No. Okay. All right, cool. This is, you know, a big mistake that I made. And, you know, I would love to share that with you. But it's like people talking, I've learned this year, now that I've put out a book, I get a lot of like, I want to write a book. Great, you should do it.
Go do it.
Yeah. They're like, what do you think I should do? So should I write a plan and then I like get an agent and then I do this? And I'm like, no, write the book.
Write the book.
Write the book. And then talk about what you're going to do about the book. Yeah. But
did you have any good mentors along the way?
So many. Like the luckiest girl in the world. So many. Even the experiences that somebody might put in the not so great category.
You learned.
I got a front row seat on how not to manage people. And I also had a front row seat into being somebody that benefited from those tough conversations. I mean, I had a boss really sit me down one time and say, you know, nobody wants to work for you, right? I was like, what? I was like, why? Look how successful I am. pulled up my stats.
Right.
I was like, revenue, check. All the things. And he goes, right. Nobody wants to work for you because you're not a good leader. Like, you don't talk to people the right way. You don't inspire. You're like a tyrant.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't know. I thought I was just supposed to get all these things on the box. The boxes checked.
Checklist management.
And I didn't realize that I wasn't doing a good job.
Right. How wonderful that you had someone bold enough to say that to you.
Mm-hmm. It's so kind.
Yeah.
To be clear like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was one of my team members, Ashley, she always tells a story about being an intern. And one of her internship supervisors pulled her aside and basically was like, hey, you need to check yourself on these things. Best thing they ever did for this college kid.
Right.
And I was like, as her manager, I'm so grateful for her to be able to do that. And I mean, especially on internships, you learn so more. Apprenticeships, I'm such a believer in apprenticeships.
Do you take those on in your company?
I try.
Yeah.
I try the best I can.
Yeah.
I
find with that back to that young generation, I think it is a gross generalization to label all of them, but there certainly are tendencies. But what I tell them, and even my boys who are 25 and 20, I'm like, man, if you've got any degree of grit and resilience right now, you're gonna own the world.
Yes.
Your competitive pool is so much smaller than us Gen Xers. Yes. And yeah, we're not perfect by any means, but we certainly know how to get up and go to work. And any kids that can do that today, they're going to go places.
And I mean, again, like the idea, even the 9-to-5 thing was already passe for us because that was supposed to be like a factory, kind of, that was the philosophy. You were on your feet or you were physically laboring for 8 hours. Like you had a lunch break, you had all these other things. Well, that's just not realistic. But also, I will say this, I don't miss softball games.
Right. That's right.
So that is balance, but it's not structured balance. Like I'm also a responsible adult who realizes when I need a nap.
Yeah.
Or when I need to eat.
You're in a place where you're creating your balance because you have worked hard to achieve things. You have the opportunity to go to the softball game versus starting with, I got to go to the softball game.
Right.
And I think that's a primary difference between our generation and some of the youngers.
Yep.
And I'm not mad at them for it. I think a lot of kids, a lot of the younger generation, they want to do the right thing as long as they know what the right thing is. And by you being very specific, here's the right thing. Here's what good performance looks like in this organization.
And you don't want to tell people any choices like about, when you start your family or anything like that. There are certainly professional advantages that I have felt because I did start a family a little later. However, I'm also like ancient and tired, compared to some of my other parent friends. So there's a give and take on all fronts.
Yeah. And
I often laugh that the reason why I wanted to fight so hard through cancer and continue to do so, because I want to see these kids. I'm going to be 108. Like, I mean, I need to see these things happen for them. Right. So I have, motivation there.
Good. This has been awesome.
Thank you. I've had so much fun.
Yeah. Tell us where can listeners find you and the book, and how do people follow along with Jennie Smythe?
You can find everything at gorillamarketing.com.
Okay.
And I am very easy to find online, and I would love to be friends.
Awesome. Thanks a ton for coming.
Thank you.
Well, hopefully you've been listening. If you liked it, tell everybody, subscribe, all that stuff. If you didn't like it, don't tell anybody. And Jennie's a baller, man. What a career trajectory, what a life story, and a lot of lessons to learn here. And it's you don't have to be a trailblazer by yourself. There are paths to follow and learn things from, and hers is certainly one of them. So thanks a ton for being here. All right. See you later. Well, guys, that's a wrap for today. We thank you a ton for listening and looking forward to the next episode where we'll continue this journey on how becoming corporate enough can put you in your highest productivity zone to create a successful, profitable, and purpose-driven business for you.